Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Johnnie Allen Jr., who is pursuing a PhD in higher education and a recipient of McKnight Doctoral Fellowship. Johnnie, thank you for being with me today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Let's start with a little introduction.
So as you said, my name is Johnnie Allen Jr. I'm currently a first-year doctoral student in the higher education program here at Florida State. I currently serve as a graduate assistant in the Leadership Learning and Research Center. So I do some leadership research as well as teach in the undergraduate leadership certificate program. So currently right now I'm working with the Black Male Leadership course, which is offered during the fall semesters for undergraduate students, which is a really great course, and I'm enjoying the time with the students. I'm originally from Elkhart, Indiana, so born and raised in Indiana. And then I transitioned from Elkhart, Indiana to Bloomington, Indiana, where I got my bachelor's and my master's degree at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana. I got my bachelor's degree in community health and public health with a minor in gerontology. And then I stayed and pursued my master's in higher education and student affairs from the Indiana University Higher Education Student Affairs program. And so I just graduated with my master's spring 22.
So you said that you did your undergrad in public health and ecology, right?
Public health and community health.
And community, okay. And then how do you go from health to higher education?
Yes, which is a great question. So I originally went to undergrad wanting to pursue a career as a physical therapist. So that was my initial goal when I first got to college. And then I realized very quickly that science and math were not my strong suit. So I'm not a really big fan of like science and math courses, but kudos to those who are. And then right after my first year at Indiana University, I stayed that summer and worked as an orientation leader. So throughout that summer in 2017, I was able to really work closely with incoming students at IU through the orientation program. And I really loved connecting with students. I loved talking about why I chose IU and why I still loved IU. And then just really connecting with the students made me realize that this is something that I really wanted to do in life. And so when I originally wanted to be a physical therapist, it was really because I wanted to help people. So people would come in one way and I would want them to get better at the end of the physical therapy, like appointments or treatments. And so the same was with orientation. And I always wanted to continue to just help others. And so I realized that people could do this as a career in higher education. And so I really talked to a lot of the directors at the time, my graduate supervisors. And the more I talked to them, the more they told me about higher ed and student affairs as a career field. And so then as I continued to navigate throughout my undergrad journey, I did a lot of leadership programs at Indiana University. So I was a part of the inaugural Neil Marshall Leadership Academy. So this was also another spark to my leadership and higher ed journey. And then I ended up joining membership in my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, in fall 2017. And then I also worked in Res Life. I did a number of other things at Indiana University that continued to shape my passion for higher ed and student affairs. And then I heard about the HESL program at IU, applied, and that's kind of how I've been in higher ed and student affairs so far.
So it seems that, being a leader is a big part of who you are. Are you part of any organizations here at FSU?
Yeah, so currently right now I am the first year doctoral rep for the Higher Education Student Affairs Association, which is a organization within the higher ed program here at Florida State. So I'm a part of the executive board there. So this is one of my first leadership positions since I've got to Florida State, and just trying to find other ways to also get involved. And then I still have my fraternity membership because the chapters are also here at Florida State and also in Tallahassee, the graduate chapters of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
I read on your profile that you are a first generation student. Did you face any challenges throughout your academic journey?
Yeah, yes, definitely a first generation college student. So undergrad, throughout master's, and now doctoral journey. So shout out to all the first generation college students. I do know that next week is the first gen college celebration that NASPA does. And so that's a really great opportunity for people to just celebrate first gen college students' identity. In terms of challenges, definitely, I think one of the big ones is figuring out financial aid, which is still an ongoing process. Like I feel like I'm constantly learning as well, even though I do have a bachelor's degree, master's, and pursuing a doctoral degree. I think it was just the challenges of trying to figure out how those things work and not knowing who to ask. Especially being the first one in my family and not really having that support capacity to understand how they could help me navigate this journey. Yes, although they were very supportive and encouraging, they also did not know as well. So it was kind of hard trying to figure out when I needed to turn documents in or how often do you have to redo your FAFSA and everything like that. So that was one of the main challenges. But as a first generation college student, I was a part of a scholarship program at Indiana University called the Groups Scholars Program. And so that was a summer bridge program that I was a part of in summer 2016. So this was my first opportunity to engage in some college classes. So during that summer, we had to take 2 courses and you had to pass those courses to get fully admitted to Indiana University for the fall semester. So throughout this program, very well enriched in program and trying to make sure that students are learning different curriculum and having that educational development, but also that sense of community and belonging that students sometimes struggle with in higher ed. I was able to get that throughout that summer. So that actually helped shape and mold my experiences and being able to overcome those challenges that I talked about. So they would have different workshops about financial aid or talking about how you should engage in office hours, because that is something that a lot of times college students or first generation students don't really understand what that means. Sometimes, like for me, I thought it meant that was when the professor was just going to be working in their office and not knowing necessarily that you could go there to get help. So the Group Scholars Program did a lot of programs to help students learn the terminology in higher ed and knowing how to navigate different spaces.
So you mentioned, financially it was a challenge. You are a recipient of McKnight Fellow, McKnight Doctoral Fellowship. How important was it for you to be a recipient and a fellow of that? And what does it mean to you to be a McKnight Fellow?
Yes, I mean, this is a great question. So yeah, just like anyone trying to pursue a degree, let alone a terminal degree, and trying to figure out how you were going to financially, attain this degree. So my doctoral advisor, Dr. Cameron Beatty, actually told me about the McKnight Doctoral Fellowship even before I submitted my application materials to Florida State. So I was able to kind of do some research and just learning more about McKnight, what McKnight offers, and how to get involved with McKnight. Even though there is the financial reward, which was, definitely important, there are also other aspects of McKnight that really drew me to wanting to apply for the fellowship. And when it was time for me to apply to Florida State, there was also another follow-up from Dr. Tamara Bertrand-Jones, who was also a faculty member in the higher ed program here at Florida State. Just making sure that I was applying to McKnight. There was several students that I know that email was sent to, but it was kind of one of those blind emails, so you didn't get to see who all the recipients were. But it was important that they, continued to push me to apply for this doctoral fellowship. And so then when I applied and got McKnight, to me, it meant the world because I was able to pursue this doctoral degree without having to truly stress about my finances, as if I was not awarded this doctoral fellowship. And so the McKnight is given for the entirety of the degree, so 4 years. So as long as I finish in 4 years and being fully funded through McKnight with full tuition and fees paid, and then also an annual stipend, to me that was just a huge blessing to be able to move from Indiana to Florida to pursue this PhD and everything, and not have that financial stress that typically comes with getting a degree, working as a graduate assistant, and all of those things. So to me, to be a McKnight Fellow is actually like a blessing, and honestly a reward to be able to continue the legacy of other McKnight Fellows and be a part of the McKnight family, and one day getting that McKnight jacket that everyone has when they complete their doctoral degree.
So I know you are just at the beginning of your program, but do you have an idea of your research project?
Yeah. So currently right now, a lot of my research that I'm interested in is working with Black men, college students in leadership. And so with working with them, I'm truly focused on how Black men learn leadership, and so leadership learning, leadership education, and then also how we're using leadership to understand Black man's masculinity development or gender role identity development, and seeing if there are some impacts or connections through leadership learning. So yeah, a lot of the work situates around my identities. And so as a Black man, as a student leader, as someone who is passionate about leadership, education, and development. And I know that's going to constantly evolve because I'm also toiling with the thought of mentorship for Black men. So that's also another research interest of mine, and also just talking about the impacts of mentorship and how that is influencing socially just leadership education or leadership or socially just leadership, essentially, yeah.
And how did you come up with that topic? What fascinated you about this topic?
Yeah, so besides it being one of my most salient identities, I think just because I see that there's room there for a lot of research to talk about Black men in leadership, as I started to really engage more with leadership research or leadership articles, journals, different things like that, and seeing how we've continuously relied on a lot of this foundational work of leadership, and then knowing that there's room to also talk about intersecting identities when it comes to leadership and who leaders are, and talking about the process of leadership. And so to me, it was just something that I just find very important in trying to also change the narrative of how Black men are viewed in the world, and knowing that Black men necessarily don't just need mentors because they're, you know, negatively viewed in the world, but also just because this is going to be a positive frame, and not looking at Black men from a deficit framed approach, but more so like an asset base, and knowing that Black men contribute equally or even far, in the world as well as their counterparts, people with majority identities. And so I think just coming to this work for being able to advocate for other Black men, being able to advocate for Black students and higher education, and really tied into my experiences.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from today?
Yeah, 5 years from today, I hope that I can look back and reflect and just be in the space of a faculty position. And so when I finish my doctoral degree, I am interested in trying to go the faculty route. And so I hope 5 years from now that I'm actively in a faculty position, tenure track faculty role position, figuring out how I am contributing to higher education research about Black men and about leadership. I think that's essentially where I see myself in 5 years, just starting my career. So I'm currently only 24, so I'm still pretty young. And so just knowing that 5 years from now, I will just be starting my first full-time role or, career. So just wanted to make sure that I'm actively contributing to higher education in a positive way as it relates to Black men in leadership spaces.
Well, thank you so much, Johnny. It was a great interview. It was great to hear more about McKnight and more about your passion and aspirations.
Yes, thank you so much. It was a great time talking with you as well. And I'm so appreciative of this opportunity and of the McKnight Doctoral Fellowship.